Hey guys, it's Spilly and welcome back to Spill Sesh. Today we are doing a weekly TCAP and we are talking about Gabby Hanna coming out with a new podcast, Jack Wright saying he's going to be talking about Sienna May, and how everything with the Hype House just got worse as they totally diss Netflix in the edit they got on the show. We have got to get into it. So first, let's start off with Gabby Hanna. She announced that she is doing a monthly mental health podcast with Farrah Abraham from Teen Mom. This is a real throwback, you guys. I have not paid that much attention to Farrah in a very, very long time and definitely watched her on like 16 and Pregnant on Teen Mom. And now to see her doing a podcast with Gabby Hanna is definitely really interesting. They posted a video together titled Monthly Mental Health Podcast by Farrah Abraham and Gabby Hanna. This was basically the promo for the podcast and it was interesting. They were very giddy and very happy and just for saying what they were going to be discussing on this podcast.
We are so thrilled to bring to you mental health self-care talk. I don't know if it's going to be like true crime in it, if it's going to be entertainment in it, if it's going to just be health in it, but whatever it is, we cannot wait to share this with you.
I'm so excited for myself personally and for everybody else to get to know the real Farrah.
As we're dealing with our own legal problems. Okay, we love you guys. The best of health to you. Health and happiness.
Gabby,
Farrah. Okay, we love you long time. Okay, bye.
It just seems to me like they're going to be talking about their life, their mental health journeys, and sharing more about their more personal side. Obviously, we know Gabby pretty well, but Gabby felt like Farrah is like misunderstood and she has a lot that she can share with people still. And I'm sure people that are from Farrah's audience don't really know Gabby that well, so Gabby will be sharing things about her life. It's such an interesting and unexpected duo in my mind. I didn't picture these two ever really getting together, but I mean, it seems like it might work. But this isn't the first podcast that Gabby has ever done. She obviously had a podcast of her own, which, you know, she's had plenty of guests on, like Trisha Paytas. That was an iconic episode. And I don't think that she's going to be doing that one as of right now. I think she's only going to be doing this mental health one, even though it's just a monthly podcast. But I definitely want to know if you guys will be tuning into this. And I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about it because this is unexpected on a whole lot of levels. But let's get into this Jack Wright situation. And this will also kind of lead us into the Hype House Netflix show. But if you guys do not know who Jack Wright is, he is a member of the Hype House. He was featured on the Hype House Netflix show, sort of. I did make a video talking about Jack and Sienna. I made a podcast episode specifically about it at the time because there was a lot of accusations coming out against Sienna May about SA, and it was a very dark subject. And the Netflix show, a lot of people felt like it got put on pause, and the reason why it took Netflix so long to put out the Hype House show was because Sienna and Jack were in the show so heavily, and towards the end they obviously had to make do with what they had and cut out Sienna and Jack's parts, or their main parts. Jack was still pretty much in it, but there wasn't a storyline with Sienna because I'm pretty sure all of their scenes were really together and all their storylines were very connected, and so a lot of his parts were cut out. She could still kind of be seen in the background here and there, but they really did their absolute best to completely wipe her from the show. She was also featured in the first promo shots that were supposed to come out for the show, like when they all posed in front of this Netflix step and repeat. She's seen there and Jack is also in the photo. And when they finally made the announcement that the show was going to actually come out, they were completely cut out from the poster. It's a little unclear as to why Netflix didn't want to touch the subject, whether they felt like they were going to be canceled if they gave Sienna a platform, because the show took place prior to any of this stuff that had come out about her, and so people might have been upset if they painted her in a good light. I think they just wanted to avoid it entirely, but the issue is they didn't address it at all, and a lot of people have a lot of questions, and a lot of people don't really know like what the heck happened, and it was kind of weird to see that whole thing cut out from the show because a lot of people knew that she was supposed to be in it and that the two of them were together in the show at the time, and that it was very purposeful that they had cut her out. At the time when all these accusations were coming out, Sienna did make a video on her channel giving her side of the story and denied accusations against her.
Jack, I'm so sorry that I have to do this to you and I have to out you like this, and I never ever would have done this to you if it didn't get to the low point that it did, where my name was literally being slandered left and right. And I'm sorry, but for the one time I have to protect myself before I protect you. But you know I did not. you. We both know what happened, and we both know who it was, and we both know that I was not at that gathering that night. I'm so disappointed in you and the people around you because they are letting you misplace your trauma onto me, and I'm so sorry that this happened to you. It's not my place to speak your story, and I will not discuss this any further, but it's not your place to allow false allegations to be spread about me when we both know that I was not the one who did this to you.
And it has been a little while since either one of them have talked about this subject, but Jack did come out this week and posted on his TikTok saying, "Can't stay quiet anymore, especially when other guys in LA told me what she did to them. I'm done being gaslighted and silenced. Y'all deserve to know. Please give me a little more time, but please know that I have had love and support through all of this from family, friends, and all of you online." So it sounds like Jack is ready to come out and tell his story. I don't know if this has to do with the fact that the Netflix show has come out and a lot of people are talking about it again, but I think the audience still has a lot of questions as to why it literally just wasn't addressed at all. A lot of the drama that took place on the show felt outdated because a lot of people had seen it go down online already. But with this, I think there was still a lot of questions left that they could have discussed it heavily on the show while bringing a lot of awareness to what was going on and also the subject in general. Maybe they're trying to avoid lawsuits or things like that. Obviously, this came out after they had filmed the show, and some people are saying, well, maybe they could have put text on the screen explaining why they took her parts out or something, but I think they wanted to keep the show lighthearted and fun and didn't want to go there with it. When on a whole other note, in the show Cheer, if you guys ever watched Cheer, there was a lot of stuff that came out about Jerry, and they did address it in season 2. I don't know if they chose to address the Jerry situation because he is behind bars and Sienna isn't behind bars or what, but that seems to be the situation. But it sounds like Jack is going to come out and tell his own story, which is probably better because reality television, as we have all seen from most of the members of the Hype House, not super happy with their edits, saying that Netflix manipulated the storylines. Several people that were on the show felt like they were done so dirty by Netflix. Obviously, I talked about how Lorray had come out and said that Netflix did him so dirty on the show that they made him the villain, and he felt like because they couldn't use the Jack and Sienna stuff that they had filmed, they manipulated a weird storyline for Lorray.
The Hype House show, if you watched it, episode 3 is fabricated and full of a lot of bullshit because did not go to inti parties with COVID, or the production team told me they weren't going to use my COVID situation at all in the show, but due to the fact that Sienna and Jack had their altercations and issues, they needed something with, a storyline, and they had to paint that to be the storyline, which is so because I just feel as though like I was thrown under the bus. And it's not fair at all.
And this has to do with the fact that he got COVID and they try to make it seem like he went to a party, and then later on his team tried to blame Nikita for him going out to a party. We're throwing all the blame on Nikita, and he said that that was just like a totally fake storyline that they made up because they couldn't use the Jack and Sienna stuff, which is kind of interesting because at that time when they were filming, the Jack and Sienna stuff hadn't come out yet, and they were definitely filming Jack and Sienna at the time, so I don't really know what he means there. But I will say that he isn't the only one that feels like they were done dirty by their edits. Chase Hudson, or Lil Huddy, has come out and said that he also feels like his storyline was completely manipulated and that he was made out to be a villain on the show. They definitely made him look bad. A lot of people felt like he looked like he got a brat edit because he was constantly being seen as somebody who just thought of the Hype House as like a whatever thing, and he was doing his own thing and leaving everybody in the dust and making everybody pay for his rent and all this stuff. And Chase came out on a live stream just like Lorray did and said, "I've paid my own bills. You can ask my landlord. I did not ask Thomas to pay my rent," because in the show they literally make it seem like Thomas was asked to pay Chase's rent even though he was no longer living in the Hype House and had a completely separate home from the Hype House.
So I wanted to go live today because I feel like I was kind of done dirty a little bit on this Netflix show, and I just want to tell you guys a little bit, inform you guys, because I feel like there was a lot of left out. We filmed for like 4 months straight, right? And there was a lot of scenes that they ended up cutting on the show. They tried to make it seem like Hype House was paying my rent, which rubbed me the wrong way. They tried to make it seem like I had like deliverables to do for them. It's like, it was just weird. And then like a lot of the times, what really made me feel weird was I could tell there was a storyline building around they tried to paint me as a villain in the first few episodes, but in the last few it was like, oh, okay, cool, like Chase is a good guy now, but everyone hates in the beginning and he has no idea why. I never proved on any of this like, it's just kind of put out.
And Chase just feels like they made him look so bad, like he didn't care about the Hype House. He didn't care about those people. He was a bad friend. He was a bad coworker, and just walked all over people with the decisions that he was making and didn't really take into account how anybody was feeling. So with all these people coming out and saying that they did not get a good edit, I mean, even Nikita said on her Instagram story, I know who's fake and who's real. I just play along, which kind of made it seem like she was just playing along with whatever storyline the producers might have been giving her for like whatever episode they were filming. And everybody knows that to a degree, reality television isn't really real. That was definitely apparent in the last episode of The Hills that completely just ruined everything for me because I loved that show so much. And the last scene, I was like, wait a minute, I was totally lied to. Obviously, there are things that are real, but a lot of the storylines that play out are really for entertainment purposes, which might actually be for the best that they didn't include the Jack and Sienna stuff, even though a lot of people did want them to kind of head on address a really serious situation and bring light to it. Jack coming out and saying that he wants to address it might just be for the best because there won't be any manipulation with the storyline and he can tell his story the way that he wants to tell it, and he won't have to worry about somebody getting the story wrong because he's just going to be doing it himself. So that's pretty much what's going on with the Hype House. The Hype House is a mess, you guys. I mean, wow. Who would have thought that this show would have caused so much drama? I honestly didn't think that anyone was really gonna pay attention to it because it has been such a long time, but it's getting kind of a big buzz. People are knowing about the drama. People are interested in talking about it. There's been articles written about it. So I definitely want to know if you guys have seen it. Let me know in the comments down below how you guys feel about everything and what we talked about with Gabby and Hannah as well. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.